The storm gnawed at the forest canopy as Logan Wolf staggered through the darkness, his boots sinking into drenched soil with every desperate step. The wind slapped branches against his arms and face, but none of it hurt as much as a throbbing imprint seared across his cheek. The slap mark wasn't just bruised flesh. It was a wound to his pride, a reminder of the moment the alien commander had tried to break him. Logan pressed a trembling hand to the stinging welt, feeling the heat radiate through his fingertips. He hated the weakness crawling inside him, hated the memory of Vexer's metallic laughter as that massive hand cracked across his face and sent him crashing to the floor of the interrogation chamber. The humiliation still echoed louder than the storm around him. He pushed forward, clutching the small data chip hidden in his glove. It was the only reason he was still alive. The ZHYR Dominion wanted it back more than they wanted his corpse. Their patrol scattered through the forest like hunting hounds, their armored feet thudding rhythmically, their neon blue visors slicing through the shadows. Logan knew they were gaining on him. Even through the roar of thunder, he sensed their approach. Every tree creaked under the weight of the storm, but Logan kept moving, driven by a stubborn refusal to die with the slap mark still fresh on his skin. His breath came in broken gasps. He had escaped their holding facility with sheer grit, crawling through vents and slipping past guards who underestimated the resilience of a wounded human. But the escape had cost him. Blood trickled down his side, where shrapnel had torn through his suit. His legs trembled each time he forced them to take another step. And yet he refused to collapse, not when Earth still had a fragment of hope cradled in his palm. Lightning slashed across the sky, illuminating the towering silhouettes of the redwoods around him. The trees, ancient and unmoving, stood like silent judges watching a lone soldier fight against extinction. Logan leaned against one of them, breathing hard as he listened to the mechanical hum of a ZHYR drone sweeping overhead. Its spotlight skimmed dangerously close, leaving him flattened against the trunk, praying his heat signature wouldn't register. For a tense moment, the drone hovered, scanning the ground where broken branches revealed his path. Logan swallowed the panic clawing at his chest, waiting for the inevitable burst of plasma fire. Then the drone drifted away. He exhaled shakily and pushed off the tree, forcing himself forward despite the dizziness creeping through his skull. The river's distant roar whispered somewhere ahead, offering the promise of cover. If he could just reach it, maybe he could hide long enough for his heartbeat to steady. But as he neared the water, his knees buckled. He collapsed beside the shoreline, his fingers sinking into cold mud, his vision blurred, the world spinning in and out of focus. The slap mark pulsed like a brand, mocking his defeat. A twig snapped. Logan's head jerked up, adrenaline surging violently through him. He reached instinctively for a weapon he didn't have. The forest around him seemed to hold its breath. He scanned the shadows, trying to locate the source of sound, but the rain blurred everything into shifting shapes. Another crack echoed from deeper within the trees, slow, deliberate, impossibly heavy. Not ZHYR. Their movements were too precise, too calculated. This was something else. Logan tried to stand, but his legs failed him. He dragged himself backward to the mud, heart pounding as a massive silhouette materialized between the trunks. At first, he thought it was a bear, but bears didn't move with such upright certainty. They didn't pause with human-like awareness, and they definitely didn't stare with glowing amber eyes that seemed to peer straight into the soul. The creature stepped closer, reins sliding off its broad shoulders. Its fur was dark, tangled, and dripping, but it carried an undeniable aura of strength and ancient presence. Logan's breath hitched. Every instinct screamed danger, but he couldn't look away. The creature, legend-turned flesh, towered over him with an expression he couldn't decipher. Bigfoot, the myth whispered across generations. The guardian people swore they glimpsed in the deepest forest but could never prove. And now it stood inches from a dying Navy SEAL, studying him with quiet intensity. Logan forced himself to speak, though his voice cracked. I don't want trouble. Bigfoot didn't respond. Instead, the creature crouched, its enormous frame lowering with surprising grace. Logan froze as a massive hand reached toward him, casting a shadow that swallowed his face. He squeezed his eyes shut, expecting the end. But pain never came. Instead, he felt the gentle brush of fur against his cheek, right where the slap mark burned brightest. Bigfoot's fingers traced the bruise with a delicacy that contradicted its fearsome size. The amber eyes softened, reflecting something Logan hadn't seen from any living being since the invasion began: empathy. The creature released a deep, resonant sound. Not a growl, not a roar, but something mournful, almost protective. Logan's breath caught in his throat. For the first time since escaping, he didn't feel hunted. He felt seen. Bigfoot lifted its head, sniffing the air. Its muscles tensed before Logan even heard the distant crackle of plasma fire. The ZHYR were close. Too close. The creature's expression shifted from compassion to fury. And as it rose to its full height, towering and formidable, Logan realized something electrifying. He was no longer alone, and the ZHYR had no idea what waited for them in the dark. Bigfoot's sudden stillness was more frightening than its roar had been. The creature stood between Logan and the direction of the approaching plasma fire, its shoulders rising and falling with controlled, simmering fury. Logan tried to push himself upright, but the ache in his ribs forced him back to the ground. His pulse hammered erratically as he watched the giant swivel its head, nostrils flaring as though analyzing every molecule in the storm-drenched air. Despite the chaos crackling in the distance, Bigfoot didn't panic. It assessed, calculated, and made a choice before Logan could form a coherent thought. Without warning, the creature bent down and scooped him up with astonishing gentleness, lifting him as though he weighed nothing. Logan gritted his teeth, partly from pain, partly from the surreal shock of being held like a wounded comrade by something he believed to be a myth. The forest blurred around them as Bigfoot moved, leaping across rocks and weaving through fallen trunks with fluid precision. Logan clung to the creature's fur, startled by its warmth and the steady thud of its powerful heartbeat. The ground trembled beneath their path, but Bigfoot's stride never faltered. Behind them, the forest erupted with the ZHYR's mechanical shrieks. Their boots struck the earth in perfect rhythm, a chilling contrast of the wild. Organic power carrying Logan through the dark. Blue plasma lit the trees like unnatural lightning, leaving burning scars where beams struck bark and soil. The storm's roar couldn't mask the Dominion's pursuit. Bigfoot ducked into a narrow crevice between two ancient stones, slipping through an opening barely wide enough for its massive frame. Logan felt cool droplets brush his face as the creature carried him into a cavern illuminated by bioluminescent moss. The air inside was different, still heavy and war with the scent of earth untouched by machines. Bigfoot lowered Logan onto a dry, flat rock, holding him steady until he was balanced. Logan's breast shuddered as he looked at the creature, overwhelmed by the contrast between its brute strength and the tenderness it showed in every movement. "You saved me," he murmured, wiping water from his eyes. "But why? You don't know me." Bigfoot regarded him with a slow blink, then tapped its chest with two fingers before tapping Logan's sternum with the same gesture. Logan studied the motion, his mind piecing together the meaning with cautious hope. Whatever drove the creature, it wasn't instinct alone. It understood suffering, understood what had been done to him, and refused to let the ZHYR take another life from a forest. Logan swallowed hard and reached into his glove. His shaking fingers extracted the tiny data chip he'd risked everything to steal. He held it out between two trembling fingers. "This is why they're chasing me. It holds the layout of their command ship. It's the only leverage Earth has left." Bigfoot leaned closer, studying the small object with a quiet curiosity. Its amber eyes narrowed, reflecting the glint of the chip as though trying to memorize every angle of it. Then the creature nodded, a deliberate, solemn nod that sent a faint tremor through Logan's chest. It understood enough to know the chip mattered. Before Logan could say anything more, the cavern walls vibrated. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Bigfoot's ears twitched, and its towering frame stiffened with alarm. Logan recognized the low mechanical hum reverberating through the stone. Drones. The ZHYR were tightening their search pattern. Bigfoot stepped toward the far wall, placed its enormous palm against it, and pushed. A hidden passage shifted open with a grinding whisper. Logan stared, stunned. This was no random hiding spot. These caverns were known to the creature. It had lived among them long before humans had documented the first rumor of its existence. The passage opened into a misty, ravine bordered by cliffs on both sides. Waterfalls cascaded into a shallow pool, generating a soft, rhythmic echo. Under any other circumstance, the place would have felt sacred. Tonight, it felt like a battlefield waiting to ignite. Bigfoot moved with a sharpened urgency, pausing only to ensure Logan could keep up. Logan limped forward, each step sending pain shooting through his side, but determination kept him from falling behind. A sudden electronic whine sliced through the air, freezing them both. A ZHYR drone swooped over the ridge, its spotlight slicing to the mist before locking directly onto Logan. His stomach dropped. The drone released a piercing alarm, the shrill note ricocheting off the cliffs like a cruel beacon. "No!" Logan whispered, clenching his fists helplessly. "They found us." Bigfoot issued a deep, guttural sound, a vibration of rage and resolve that resonated to the stones beneath their feet. The creature grabbed Logan's arm and guided him backward, but before they could retreat, armored figures descended the cliffside. Their visors glowed with merciless intensity as they locked onto their targets. Logan counted at least a dozen before stopping, knowing the number didn't matter. Even one would be too much in his weakened state. Then the last figure stepped forward through the mist, and Logan's breath caught in his throat. Vexer, the alien commander's presence warped the air around him. His armor pulsed faintly, and the shape of his gauntlet, the same one that had marked Logan's cheek, glimmered under the rain. Vexer tilted his head with cold amusement. "Running again?" he taunted in his mechanical tone. "How fragile your species remains." Logan stood straighter, ignoring the fire in his ribs. He refused to let the commander see fear. The slap mark burned anew, not from pain, but from defiance gathering like heat beneath the skin. Before Logan could answer, Bigfoot stepped forward, placing itself directly between them. Its muscles coiled like drawn steel. Vexer's visor flickered in mild surprise. "You truly think a beast can save you?" he sneered. Logan felt the air shift. Bigfoot lowered its center of gravity, fists curling, chest vibrating with a slow, rising growl. "No," Logan whispered, his voice steady despite the odds. "He doesn't need to save me." The creature's roar thundered across the ravine, shaking water from the cliffs. "Because we're to save each other." And the valley erupted as the battle began. Bigfoot launched forward with ferocity that shattered the stillness of the ravine, its massive frame colliding with the first line of ZHYR soldiers like a living avalanche. Armor cracked beneath the weight of its blows, and the aliens tumbled across the slick ground in tangled heaps. Logan pushed himself into motion, despite the sharp pain slicing through his ribs, determined not to let the creature fight alone. He grabbed a fallen soldier's weapon and steadied his stance, ignoring the tremor in his legs as he fired at the nearest visor. Blue sparks erupted from the alien's armor as it collapsed beside the waterfall's edge. The echo of the shot vibrated through Logan's chest, reinforcing the fragile confidence he carried into the fight. Bigfoot snarled as another attacker lunged with a plasma blade. The creature caught the blade-wielding arm mid-strike, muscles rippling beneath thick fur, and lifted the soldier off the ground before slamming it into the cliffside. Stone cracked, dust rained down, and the soldier crumpled instantly. Logan couldn't help but watch with a mixture of awe and fear. The guardian of the forest fought with primal rage, yet every movement was intentional. There was no wild flailing, no reckless brutality. Bigfoot fought with purpose, protecting without hesitation, and attacking only to neutralize threats. Vexer stepped forward with cold confidence, raising his gauntlet as he surveyed the collapsing ranks. His voice carried through the rain like a distorted warning. "I offered your species mercy," he said, visor glowing brighter. "Now you force me to bury you with the beast you cling to." Logan clenched his jaw and lifted the captured rifle. "You call that mercy?" he shouted. "Slapping prisoners to break their spirit? Torturing civilians? You mistake brutality for superiority." Vexer tilted his head, unfazed by the accusation. "Your face carries our creed. Pain for the weak. Submission for the defeated." The words ignited something dangerous inside Logan. The humiliation he had carried for hours transformed into a burning defiance that steadied his aim. He fired, but Vexer stepped aside with effortless speed. The commander charged toward him, forcing Logan into a desperate retreat across the uneven ground. Logan dodged behind a boulder as Vexor's gauntlet smashed into it, sending shards flying like shrapnel. One grazed Logan's arm, slicing through fabric and skin, but he refused to back down. Bigfoot roared in fury as it saw the commander closing in. The creature barreled across the ravine and intercepted Vexor with a crushing tackle that sent both figures skidding through the mud. Logan scrambled to his feet, clutching his injured arm as he watched the two combatants rise. Vexor towered nearly 7 feet in armor, but Bigfoot still overshadowed him, eyes blazing with protective fire. The alien's gauntlet pulsed with energy as he raised it again, striking Bigfoot across the face. Logan froze. The sound echoed with cruel familiarity. It was the same sound that had marked his own humiliation. Bigfoot staggered, but did not fall. The creature slowly turned its head back toward Vexor, and in that moment, Logan saw something profound in its eyes. Not just anger, but a recognition of shared suffering. The slap meant nothing to the creature's strength, yet everything to its resolve. The forest guardian lunged. It seized Vexor's wrist before he could strike again and twisted with monumental force. Metal groaned, circuits snapped, and Vexor's gauntlet shattered in a burst of sparks. The alien howled as Bigfoot hurled him backward. Vexor crashed into a mound of rubble, leaving a crater in the softened earth. The remaining ZHYR soldiers hesitated, their confidence faltering as their commander struggled to rise. Logan seized a moment, firing several shots to drive them farther back. "Fall back!" One of them shouted in their guttural language, and the group began retreating toward the cliffside, no longer eager to face the enraged guardian. Vexor attempted to stand, but Bigfoot was already upon him. The creature planted a heavy foot on the alien's chest, pinning him with ease. Logan limped closer, gripping the rifle tightly as he watched Vexor squirm beneath the massive weight. The commander glared up at them, pride still flickering through cracked armor. "Finish it," Vexor hissed, as though daring them. "Strike me down and prove your savagery." Logan lowered the rifle, his breath steadying. "No," he said quietly. "Killing you wouldn't prove anything. You already lost." He tossed the rifle aside and faced the creature. "We don't become like them." Bigfoot held Vexor in place for another moment before releasing him and stepping back. The alien gasped, stunned not by mercy but by the defiance of it. He scrambled away, retreating toward the remaining soldiers who rushed to escort him up the cliff. Within moments, the last of the Dominion forces vanished into the storm-battered night. Silence slowly returned, broken only by the waterfall and Logan's labored breathing. Bigfoot approached him with gentle caution, the earlier rage replaced by quiet concern. Logan met the creature's gaze and nodded, acknowledging the debt he could never repay. "You didn't just save my life," he whispered. "You helped me take back the part of myself they tried to steal." Before Bigfoot could respond, figures began emerging from the tree-line, massive silhouettes similar to the guardian beside him. Logan's breath caught as he counted them, realizing he was witnessing an entire hidden lineage stepping forward. They studied him with solemn interest, and then, to his astonishment, they bowed their heads in unison. Logan felt an unexpected warmth in his chest as Bigfoot placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him in the moment. He looked toward the distant sky, where the ZHYR ships waited beyond the clouds. The battle was far from over, but something powerful had begun here, an alliance formed in the shadow of defeat, forged into hope by the hands of a legend. Logan straightened his stance, letting the sting of the fading slap mark remind him of the strength he had reclaimed. The war for Earth continued tomorrow. Tonight, however, humanity had earned a new reason to believe.